Spider-Man. He's famous for web slinging, sticking to walls, and a precognitive spider sense. This sense alerts Peter to danger and allows him to counter any incoming attacks in the most effective way, if possible. But what if he just happens to be knocked out? Welcome to the Review Desk. I'm Desmond Kerk, and today we'll find out if the spider sense works when Peter's unconscious. First of all, let's clarify. Spider-Man's spider sense only works when there's danger involved. In Amazing Spider-Man issue 11, Peter sprains his ankle when he slings down into some rolled up rope on a ship. This makes it clear that his sense won't warn him about seemingly harmless objects. He still needs to pay attention and be careful. Peter has total control over his response to the sense, as he can allow himself to be hit in order to trick his opponent, or to avoid harming non-powered individuals. So, what happens if Pete is unconscious? We find the answer in Black Cat and Mary Jane Beyond, issue 1. Peter Parker is critically injured after a devastating fight, and Ben Reilly picks up the slack as Spider-Man. Felicia visits Peter in the hospital, only to find Mary Jane being held at gunpoint by the supervillain, the Hood. The Hood, as its name implies, derives his powers from a demon-possessed Hood, one that was stolen from him. When he finds out Black Cat is visiting a friend in the hospital, who, unbeknownst to him, is actually Spider-Man, Hood coerces her into stealing his Hood back. Black Cat agrees, but under the condition that he release Mary Jane, stating that she's part of her crew. Before leaving, MJ orders Hood not to point the gun at Peter. As they leave the hospital, Cat explains she did this because if Peter found out she left MJ alone with the supervillain at gunpoint, Peter would never forgive her. Cat then inquires as to why MJ brought up pointing the gun. Mary Jane proceeds to explain that Peter's spider sense works even if he's unconscious. If Hood pointed the gun at him, his spider sense would instantly trigger a physical response. With his critical injuries, jumping out of bed and throwing down would be too dangerous for Peter. MJ knows what she's talking about since she knows Peter Parker probably better than anyone else. She's also experienced such a situation firsthand, also in a hospital. During the other story arc, Spider-Man is attacked by Morlun, a villain with spider-like abilities. Morlun beats Peter into a coma, resulting in him needing to be hospitalized. Morlun makes his way to the hospital to finish the job, but Mary Jane attempts to fight him off. He tosses her aside, removes a weapon from her hand, but it isn't until he physically harms MJ that Peter's spider sense kicks into action and he attacks the supervillain. This also makes it clear that while Peter's spider sense will kick into action to protect Mary Jane, there needs to be a clear threat. Someone pointing a gun at her won't trigger the spider sense. The guy needs to have the intention of actually firing their gun. The MCU answered the question in its own way. In Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange separates Peter's mind from his body. To the Sorcerer's surprise, the body still reacts by evading him. Keep in mind that this is a guy who's seen literal demons and other dimensions, yet Spider-Man still finds a way to surprise him.
How are you doing that?
I have no idea.
You should not be able to do that.
Now, you might say it's never explicitly stated that this is the spider sense at work, but if you pay close attention to Peter's head, you can see the classic squiggly lines of Peter's spider sense around his head, just like in the comics. The comics themselves might seem to contradict when his spider sense kicks in, however. In Amazing Spider-Man issue 12, Peter is knocked out cold by Dr. Octopus, who proceeds to remove his mask. Peter doesn't stop him and his identity is revealed. However, in this issue, Peter is ill, which causes his spider powers to stop working. His punches aren't as powerful, leading Doc Ock to think Spidey's toying with him. The lack of a functioning spider sense also explains why Peter allows Ock to unmask him. His powers later return and he deals with the 8-armed foe in typical Spidey fashion. As for his identity being revealed, due to his lack of exhibiting any powers, everyone present believes that Peter was simply pretending to be Spider-Man, even Doc Ock. In a later issue, Amazing Spider-Man 52, Spidey is rendered unconscious by Kingpin's knockout gas. Kingpin's henchmen carry Spider-Man to a basement where he and J. Jonah Jameson are shackled and almost drowned. You might ask, why didn't Spidey react when the bad guys were carrying him? Because, as stated earlier, there was no immediate danger involved. No one was pointing a gun at him or attempting to hit him. He also woke up shortly after the room started flooding. So there you have it, folks. You might be tough enough to knock out Spidey, but don't think for a second that means he's down for the count. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.